Let us start. Good evening. Hare Krishna. Warm welcome to all of you. We start chapter 8 today in the running Gita series, and we'll do this chapter Attaining the Supreme, Attaining the Absolute in two parts. Part 1, where we'll do 1 to 13 verse. So the English name is Attaining the Supreme, Attaining the Lord, and the Sanskrit name is Aksara Brahma Yoga. Why we call this Aksara Brahma Yoga, you will come to know when we are in verse 3. Let's start with our prayers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, this is an important chapter in Gita, and it is so important that there's a nice story here. We'll start with the story. Lord Shiva tells Parvati, do you know the glory of this chapters? Please listen to me. I will give you the story in brief. So Parvati is very curious. So, and here Shiva says, after hearing the story, you will really feel happy. And what's the story Shiva tells Parvati? In South, there lived a Brahmana whose name was Bhava Sharma. He was a learned scholar, but he was greedy, and he had a bad company in terms of a prostitute as wife. So you know what happens when you are in the company of wrong people. So he is greedy, wife is a prostitute. So they did not follow any of these Brahminical rituals. The form and substance of a Brahmana is that he has to serve the Lord. So they forgot that important main duty. Now what happened? He had a bad health, and then he passed away. And thanks to his sinful deeds, Krishna blessed him with a next birth, which is a date palm tree. So he became a tree from a Manava. One day, two Brahmarakshasas, that is ghosts, happened to, they were tired and they were looking for some shelter. They came and took shelter under this palm tree. And they were really sick of their Rakshasas' life, and they didn't really know what to do. And this Brahma Rakshasas also had a very interesting background story. They were again a Brahmana couple. So his name was Kushibal, and his wife's name was Kumati. Again, Kushibal is a learned Brahmana, but again, he did not follow all the Brahminical traditions, duties. He did not serve the Lord, and his wife was wicked and cruel. So what she used to tell him is that let's take charity from everyone, but then let's not give it away. Whatever we get, we keep it, and we want to be rich. Now, this is not a traditional Brahminical way of life. So what you sow, so you reap. And their time came and they passed away. And thanks to their sinful deeds, they became Brahma Rakshasas. But Kushibal was a learned Brahmana, and Kumati was greedy. And then she realized, and she was thoughtful as to what do I do to come out of this ghostly life. Brahma Rakshasa is the worst phase of any Atma can go through. That's why people say don't commit suicide, because you're neither in this world nor in that other world. You're in between Trishanku. So Kumati, out of desperation, asks her husband, can you please tell me what do we do to come out of this curse? How do I atone for my penance, for my sins? And Kushibal, being a learned Brahmana, says, a dear wife, I remember from my last life, and we have to do three things. He says, Kim Tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, Kim Karma. This is what Kushibal says, and his wife repeats this. Kim Tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, Kim Karma. And even before she could complete the statement, there is a miracle that happens. So Bhav Sharma gets back his Brahmana's form of body. He is no longer a date palm tree. And this Brahma Rakshasas come out of that Brahma Rakshasas form. And Bhav Sharma sees with awe and reverence that there is a Pushpak Viman which comes and takes away Kushibal and Kumati to Goloka. So this was the power of just chanting half the verse of this chapter, Akshara Brahma Yoga. Then Parvati is more curious. She says, then what happened to Bhav Sharma? Then Shiva says, you will be happy to note that Bhav Sharma, who had witnessed this miracle of Gita, so he retires to Kashi. He continues to spend his life praying to Krishna, and he only knew half the verse. So he went on repeating this verse, and Krishna is pleased with him, and he goes back to Goloka. So this is the essence and power of this chapter. So with this, we start with a brief outlook of what we studied in the last class, that is 7th chapter, so that becomes the connection to 8th chapter. So 7th chapter was knowledge of absolute, and the acronym was HEAD. It starts with hearing. That is the first lesson. And what's the this thing? Krishna says, you must listen to my glories, glory of knowledge. That's how you can understand me. And when you hear, you get two kinds of knowledge. One is gnana, another is vijnana. So gnana is knowledge, and vijnana is realization, application of knowledge. And Krishna also says that this is extremely rare in this world. Very few people understand me. Why is that? We will see as we go along. Next is the lesson to everywhere. Many people ask us, show me God, then I will pray to him. I don't believe if I don't see. This is half knowledge is dangerous kind of people. So the lesson 2 is for such people where Krishna says, you can see me everywhere. So you don't have to think, where do I find Krishna? He is everywhere. He describes to us the unconscious energy or the material energy, apara prakriti, and he also describes to us his spiritual energy, para prakriti. And he says all living beings, sarva bhutani, are part of my spiritual energy. Then he says, I am all pervasive. I am the source. I am the cause. And he gives us a mind-boggling description of 14 elements through which you can see him. He is with us every living minute. So if someone asks, show me God, then there is something wrong, because he says, I am the taste of water, I am the ability in man. He goes on to describe all these 14 elements. After describing that, one can rest assured that, yes, if I want to remember Krishna, he is everywhere. It's just that I have to connect my thoughts and my thinking with what Krishna is telling me. Then he says, I am beyond the modes. And he maintains this world. He is within us, but he is beyond the modes. This is another turning point of this chapter. He says, Tribir Gunamayir Bhavair Ebi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Na Abhijanati Mamebhya Param Avyayam. What is the essence? He says, all of you, why people do not know Krishna? Because they are deluded by these 3 modes. And this leads to the next lesson, accept or reject. If you are in the mode of goodness, you will accept Krishna. If you are in the mode of passion, you may not. If you are in the mode of ignorance, you will certainly not. So he describes to us who surrenders to Krishna, who accept Krishna as the supreme, and there are people who reject Krishna as supreme. He describes 4 types of people who accept and believe in Krishna, and there are 4 types of people who do not believe in Krishna. So this is the lesson number 3, how to surrender unto Krishna. And the 4th is demigod worship. Now he says there are 2 ways of achieving me. One is you can go through the intermediaries, officers on special duties, devatas, and come to me, which will take you a longer time. But if you can come directly to me, that's another way. Now, how do we understand this? It's like, if you want to go and see a rich person, or you want to meet the Prime Minister of India, what do? You have to visit the office, then you have to take appointment, you go to the security, they'll do a frisking. So, and then you go inside, there will be fierce looking dogs, which will be guarding the entrance to the house. So this is the role of demigods. They are there to protect the Lord. So you will have to negotiate with security. You will have to negotiate with the guarding dogs, which is Maya, which is 3 modes. And only if you are able to successfully negotiate, you can go to the Lord or the important person, the Prime Minister. Similarly, demigod worship is, you want to do this, you can do this, or you can directly pray to the Lord. And Krishna says demigod worshippers are alpamedasa. They are less intelligent. And then there are also people who say the Lord is Brahmajyoti. He is impersonal. He doesn't have a form. Now he says those people are abudhyaya. They have no intelligence. words. So this is what we learned in chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute. So with that, we start 8th chapter. Now, the 8th chapter, which is Attaining the Supreme, Akshara Brahma Yoga, also has an acronym. But I don't want to use that acronym because it has a very, what you can say, jarring connotation. It is called dead. So I don't want to use that. So I will use, one second. Yeah. What is the flow of this chapter? It starts with, first let's understand what's the link between chapter 7 and chapter 8. In Gita, every chapter, every verse is interlinked. So the beauty of learning Gita and why this takes so much of time to understand is we don't understand and we can't figure out the interlinkages. So what's the linkage between chapter 7 and chapter 8 is, first is Arjuna was listening to Krishna, and Krishna in 7.29 and 7.30 started using 7 new terms. He talked about Adibhuta, Adidhaiva, Adiyagna, Brahman, Karma, and Prayana Kale. So Arjuna starts this chapter by asking Krishna, can you please tell me what is the meaning of these words? You use them, but I'm not able to understand what they stand for. So the first lesson of this is Arjuna's questions, doubts of Arjuna. So the first verse, first 2 verses, Arjuna asks questions, and in 3rd and 4th, Krishna answers them. So this is how the chapter starts. Then comes the second lesson, remembrance of Krishna at the time of death. Now, people may be wondering, and this chapter, that's why it has so much of importance. Why does Krishna talk about death? Why is death so important? So the way to understand this is, where did Gita happen? Where did Lord speak about Gita? He spoke on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So millions of people on both the army front faced each other, and they were staring death in the face. That's the reason why death became such an important topic for Krishna to explain to Arjuna. And let's look at Arjuna. What was going on in his mind? He says, I don't want to fight Krishna because I will be killing my own relations. So Krishna tells Arjuna, what is the importance of death? Death is nothing but the beginning of a new life. And we get to know first time, he talks about transmigration, rebirth. So Gita is very clearly saying that all of us will have another birth after this. So let's listen, what is Krishna's story? And how do we remember Krishna? He gives us Antakale Chamameva. And it starts from there. The whole chapter is trying to answer that question. How do I remember you at the time of death? In this, verse 6 is the law of last thought. Very important. We will discuss this as we go now. Then attaining the supreme. Here, this is lesson 3. And it's from verse 9 to verse 22. We will stop at verse 13, which is, we can remember the Lord by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. What is Yoga Mishra Bhakti? You have to meditate on the Lord and you should have Bhakti. If you mix the two, you can attain Krishna. And then the 4th lesson is devotion to Krishna. We'll be covering this in the next class. Now I have, let's look at the first verse. Arjuna Uvacha Kim Tat Brahma Kim Adhyatmam Kim Karma Purushottama. I have underlined the word Purushottama. Adibhutam Ja Kim Proktam Adidaivam Kim Uchyate. What are the Arjuna's questions? He says Kim Tat Brahma. Remember, this is what Kumti asked Kushibal, and they got delivered. That's the importance of these questions. It is understanding life if you understand the questions that Arjuna is asking. Kim Tad Brahma, what is Brahma? Kim Adhyatmam, what is Adhyatma? Kim Karma, what is Karma? And there he is asking Purushottama. Why is, every time Arjuna addresses Krishna, he will call him by a name. And that name also has a lot of significance. Arjuna doesn't use a name without a reason. So why does he call Krishna Purushottama? Purushottama is Uttama Purusha. That is Purushottama, the supreme. And Purusha also means male and enjoyer. So when you call him Purushottama, it means he is the supreme person and is the supreme enjoyer. Now, many people say, I can understand he's the maintainer, he's the creator, maintainer, and destroyer. But how is he the supreme enjoyer? There is a very nice example to understand why is Krishna Purushottama. Now, when you see a mother feeding a small baby, 5 months, 10 months old. So mother is feeding and the baby is drinking milk. Now, in this relationship, who is more happy? Can anyone guess? Is it the mother who is feeding the baby or the baby who's drinking the milk? Can anyone want to take a guess? Chetana, Ramesh?
Sir, going by your question.
Sorry?
Sorry, please carry on.
No, you say this.
No, I'm saying going by your question, it is the mother who is the enjoyer in this situation.
Fantastic.
Because the baby doesn't yet know what it means to enjoy something. It's just and it's just learning to live life, to be in this world. Fine. So that is a basic need that the baby is getting fulfilled. Okay. And for the mother, it is a connection. It is her bond with her offspring.
Okay. Now I heard Ramesh also say something. Yes, Ramesha.
It is a mother, obviously. I said.
Fantastic. So both of you have the right answer. Well done. Why? Now that's the next question. That's the essence behind Purushottama. And of course, all of you will have part of the answers. If I have to make it simple, because the mother is selfless. That's the key. When now there is no love in this world which is equal to mother looking after a child, because the child cannot repay the mother in any which way till he becomes old. But mother doesn't even bother about that. She looks after the baby better than looking after her own life. That is the example of the only example of selfless love in this world. If an instance of a mother feeding a child is giving her so much of joy, imagine what is the joy of Krishna. He is the Uttama Purusha, the supreme person, and he gives selfless to every one of us. He never says, shall I give you 1 liter of oxygen or 10 liters of oxygen? As long as you're alive, oxygen is available in plenty. He's not going to ask you, should I give you taste in their tongue? Should I give you water? No, he gives us everything selflessly. That's why we should understand that Krishna is Purushottama, the topmost Purusha, male and enjoyer. So every word in Gita has a significance. That's why Arjuna is asking, Kim Karma Purushottama. Next, and of course, if you go further, then there is Uttama Purusha, Madhyama Purusha, and Adhama Purusha, and we are in the third category. All living beings, we are always selfish. We just don't look at and learn from the Lord's example. Next, what is Adibhuta? Adibhutam kacha kim proktan. What is Adidaivam? This is the questions, and the next verses we should get the answers. We go to the next verse. Adiyagna katam ko atra dehe asmin madhusudana. Again, I have underlined madhusudana. Prayana kale cha katam meyosi niyatatmabhi. What is this? Again, Arjuna is asking questions. He says, Adiyagna katam ko atra. Who is Adiyagna? Dehe asmin madhusudana. How does Adiyagna live in the body? And why is he calling him Madhusudana? Because Madhu was a fearsome demon and Krishna killed him. So Arjuna is saying, I have fearsome doubts in my mind. I want you to kill all the doubts in my life, in my mind, like you killed the demon Madhu. That's why he is addressing him as Madhusudana. Then he says, Prayana kale cha katam. How to know you at the time of death? Meyosi niyatatmabhi. So this is the essence of this whole chapter. Krishna will answer how do how can one know the absolute truth at the time of death? And the whole chapter after this verse 3 is for focus on answering this question. Let's look at the verse 3, the most important verse, because Krishna starts answering. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavo Adhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavut Bhavakaro Visarga Karma Samajnitaha. What is Brahma? Now, this takes a little bit of understanding. Brahman means spiritual. That's the easiest way to understand. In 4.24, there is a verse which says, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir, Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Ghantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So anyone who is absorbed in Krishna, offers everything to Krishna, that becomes Brahman. So the easiest way of understanding, when we don't know what the context in this word, Krishna is using Aksharam Brahma. Because of this, the chapter is also titled Aksharam Brahma. So you see Brahma, the first thing in your mind should be, okay, Brahma means spiritual. Now, it is contextual. Everything in Gita is depending on the context. What is Krishna saying about Brahma? So here, Brahma can be Lord Brahma. He can be Atma. He can be Paramatma. It can go on. But Krishna is very clearly saying he is the Jiva. He is the Atma. And we also know that Atma is Brahma and Lord Krishna is also Brahma. So how do we differentiate? Then whenever he has to give us this differentiation, he calls himself Parabrahma. That's the way to understand that this Brahma he's referring to Atma. When he wants to clarify about himself, he will say Parabrahma. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. So there are two things which is unique to Atma, to Jiva. What are those? Aksharam, one which does not perish, Naksharati, imperishable. Second is the Paramam. These are the features of the Jiva. It is eternal. It has no death. It has no birth. It is forever. It is part of Krishna. Now, how do we understand Brahman? Because this is a word which is used in context and mean so many things. So if you were to take a real life, this world example is, you have seen a movie. Many of us are visiting, we were going to movies, we go to movies. And when you see how the movie works, is that there is a projector, there is a lamp, and there is a film. And when this lamp throws the light on this film, you can see the movie on the screen. So Brahman is like that light. The beauty of this is, without the light, the film can't exist, but without the film, the light can exist. That is the transcendental characteristic of Brahma. That's that's what is spiritual. It is not material. Aksharam Brahma. So what is the answer? The answer is Brahma is Atma, the indestructible Akshara, transcendental living entity, separate from the material body. Let's go to the second. What is Adhyatma? This is another very, very important concept to understand. Brahman, we understood as Jiva. Adhyatma. Now, this is again something to do with Jiva. That's how we take this as definition of Jiva in this verse. Swabhavo Adhyatmam Uchate. What does it mean? Prabhupada said, Swabhava means eternal nature of the soul. Muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vivastitihi. Swabhava is also expanded as Swam Bhavayati. Swam is that which helps us connect with the Lord. Swabhava, another way of looking at it is Swa is self and Bhava is existence. In simple words, in layman's terms, how do I understand my Swabhava? I understand that as pure consciousness. That is one within the body which illumines the body, mind, and intellect. Without Swabhava, we are nothing. And Swabhava makes us unique. We have the permutation of three modes present in us in different combinations. And that's the reason why Alok, Ramesh, Chetana, Sham are different individuals. We are equal. We are all Jivas. We are all Atmas, but we are unique Atmas. We have come into this world with our own Swabhava. That's how you understand Adhyatma. So what is the answer? Adhyatma, the eternal nature or impressions that accompany the Jiva and govern the body. That is Adhyatma. Then comes the answer to the third question. What is karma? Now, this is even more deep in meaning. We have understood karma as action, karma as reaction. It's a system of action and reaction. This is what we have learned in the first 7 chapters. But now, Krishna gives another meaning of karma to Arjuna. And he says, karma is transmigration. This is the first time where Krishna gives this explanation of transmigration. He says, Visarga karma samajnitaha. From our actions, which is called karma, we get our body. That's the easiest way to understand this. Now, what is, let us understand this a little bit further. How does my karma define my body? So, if I believe in material nature, if I follow all the material pleasures available in this world, then Krishna says, okay, as per your karma, I will bless you with 8.5 or 8.4 million types of species of life. So I get wonderful choice to be either a shark or a whale or a man or a woman, etc., etc. If I believe in spirituality and I pray to the Lord, I devote my service to the Lord, then I will have only one spiritual body. That is mukti. So our karma defines our body. That is bhuta bhavo bhavakaro visarga karma samajnitaha. So karma is the cause of this entire universe. If there was no karma, then this universe would not be there. Because we have done punya karma, we have done papa karma, Krishna says, okay, I will reward you as per your karma. You come into this world, and there are 14 lokas, not just our bhuloka. There are 14 other lokas where we can spend our karma. After spending all our desires, after exhausting every little wish we have, then we will say, Krishna, take me to you. And that is the day when we get mukti. This is karma. How do you define this? Our actions, fruitive activities of the jiva that lead to transmigration from one material body to another. So if you understand this, then you will say that, okay, I will pray to Krishna and I will stop myself coming into this cycle of life and death. We move to the next verse. Adibhutam ksharo bhava purushas cha adidaivatam adiyagno aham evatra dehe dehe vratam vara. What is this? Krishna is continuing the answers. He says, what is adibhuta? Now, adibhuta, adibhutam ksharo bhava. Ksharo bhava means that which changes, rapidly changing, that which is destructible, that which is perishable. Anything material is adibhutam. This prakriti, our own body, which is made up of panch-bhutas, is material. That's how we understand adibhuta. So this entire universe is adibhuta. And what is the quality of this adibhuta is it has 6 stages. Imagine how precise is our spiritual science. Everything is defined. There's no black and white or gray. You have understood it, provided you have made an effort to understand it. So Lord says, every material body in this world is born, they grow, they live for some time, they reproduce, then they are overcome by old age and they die. So this is the cycle of material life, and it's applicable to everyone equally. This physical nature is called adibhuta. So how do we answer this? Prakriti, anything which is constantly changing, shara, the physical world of material elements, we are surrounded by Prakriti, that is adibhuta. What is adidaiva? Now, this is yet another deep philosophical way of understanding who is the Lord. So, the Lord is adidaiva. And how do we imagine him? He is universal form. In chapter 11, we will study this Vishwarupa Darshana of Krishna to Arjuna. But here, he's giving us a glimpse of what is Adidaiva. So if you imagine, we always say Krishna is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer. Now Arjuna said, I want to see your Vishwarupa form. So Krishna then shows. Now here, he is only describing it as Adidaiva. What is that? It is the gross body. Imagine it is such a huge body, you can't see it with your eyes. Even Krishna had to give him a spiritual chakshu to see his Virat Purusha form. So he's so huge that all the demigods, all the jivas, All the universe exists in this Virat Purusha. Just imagine how huge is it. To give you a size of dimensions, it is described that the lower planets are considered to be the legs of this supreme giant Virat Purusha. The eyes are sun and moon. Just imagine. The upper head is the upper planetary systems. If you have a vivid imagination, you try to imagine how huge Virat Purusha is. This is Adidaiva. This is how Srila Prabhupada explains how to understand Lord. And he says, if you understand Adidaiva, that is the first time in realizing the Lord. He is inconceivable. But since you want to get an taste of how he looks, this is how we understand. He is Adidaiva. He is a gigantic universal form which includes all demigods and their planets. All of us are situated within him. Adiyagna. Adiyagno aham evatra. Who is he? Krishna. Yajna is sacrifice. Now, we are all listening to Gita. And when we listen to Gita, what we do, our mind, senses, intelligence is all focused on hearing, understanding, and remembering Krishna. This is Yajna. So service to the Lord is Yajna, nothing more than that. And it says, I am the Adiyagna. Of all the Yajnas, I am the supreme. I am the enjoyer of the sacrifice, and I am the bestower of all rewards for such worship. So we are praying to the Lord by listening to Gita. Whatever pious credit we need to give, he is happy, he will bestow. That's how we understand Adi Yajna. Now, people also say Indra is the Lord of sacrifice, Shiva is the Lord of sacrifice. Yes, certainly, they are all important. Devas, Devatas, they are also equally eligible to get the sacrifice done in their name. But we should remember Krishna is the superordinate. Dehe Deha Bratam. So he is the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. We also earlier learned Purushottama. How is Adi Yajna known in the body? Answer is, he says, I am in the heart of all living beings. Adi Yagno Aham Evatra, Dehe Deha Bratam Vara. What is Deha Bratam? He is the best amongst us. We are all embodies, we are all jivas, we are all Bhutani. But Arjuna, you are the best of all living beings because you have a direct relationship with me. But the message is, I am equally present in all of you. It could be a tree, plant, insect, fly. Krishna is present as Paramatma, and he is there to accept our service. That is Yajna. Next. This is the question, which is, how do you know at the point of death? This is the main subject of the entire chapter. So with this, we actually are getting into the crux, lesson 2. Why Arjuna is asking this question? How do we remember you at the time of death, O Krishna? Please tell me. So this verse starts that. Antakale chamam eva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yatina asti atra samshayaha. What's the one-line meaning of this? Remembering Krishna at the time of death. What is the translation? And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. Yati nasti atra samshaya. He says there is no doubt about it. You will come to me if you understand this. Now, antakale is very easy to understand. It's at the time of death. Now, Krishna could have said, antakale ka samay chamameva. That is, at the time of death, if you remember me, you will come to me. No, he's not saying. Antakale tak. That is, throughout your life, till your last breath, if you remember me, then you will come to me. Antakale. If at the time of death, when we have lost the sense of me, mine, I own this belongs to me, these are my relatives, etc., etc. That's the time where we have to remember that our body is now about to pass, and the only thing that is going to be left behind is mind, intellect, and false ego. This is called the subtle body. Sukshma Sarira. Mameva Smaran Muktva. Now, you have to remember me alone. He does not say, remember Shiva, remember Brahman. He doesn't say, remember Durga. He says, Mameva, remember me. And who is talking? Krishna is talking. Who is Mam? Krishna. And he doesn't say, Vachan Muktva Kalevaram. That is, now we are all chanting. Now Prabhupada said that the chanting is also a yajna to the Lord. But chanting is not enough. He says you can chant my name, but in your mind you may be thinking of something. Now, for example, Gandhi passed away by when he was shot by saying, "Hey Ram, Hey Ram." Now we have to connect that to this. What is Krishna saying? Smaran Mukta. So we really don't know what Gandhi had in his mind, even though he chanted Hey Ram, Hey Ram. He's 10,000 times better than a normal human being, but because at least he took Ram's name on his tongue. But did he remember Ram in his mind? That's the essence of this. When you should remember? Just before Smaran Muktva Kalevaram, just before you give up your body. And how do you remember? Krishna has been telling this to Arjuna. He says in 7.30, remember me as Adibhuta, Adidaiva, Adiyagna. Make your entire life an upasana. Then you can remember me. Yaprayati. If you remember me, and when you leave your body with me in your mind, then you will get Madbhavam. You will come to me, you will be liberated, you will no longer be having any material body. Na asti yatra samshayaha. There is no doubt about this. Now, Prabhupada gives a very common example helping us to understand what is the essence. How do we understand this? He says, you look at a swan. When it wants to take honey, it goes to the bottom of the lotus flower. First, he puts his head, his beak, and then he wants to go still deeper to get more honey. Then he puts his entire neck inside, so much so that it becomes difficult for him to come out. So Prabhupada says all of us should try and entangle ourselves in the service of Krishna when we are living, when all our faculties are listening to us, like a swan to go after honey. So for swan, honey is tasty. For people, for all Sarva Bhutani, for all living entities, devotion to Krishna is important. Honey is that. So if we are able to do that, we will be able to remember him at the time of death. Now, this is not very difficult to understand, isn't it? We all have given exams in our life. Now, can you write your final exam if you are not studied throughout your life? That's so simple. So that's what Krishna is saying. Your life is an exam. If you keep remembering me throughout, you will be able to remember me at the final exam time too. Then this is most important verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. This is the general law of destination after death. What is the translation? Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. He is only reinforcing the message that he told us in the last verse. The soul will acquire the body which you desire. Now, we should be clear that yam yam, whatever, vapi smaran bhavam, we think, we remember. We may remember our mother, we may remember our parents, we may remember our children. We should be very careful. These are all relationships. Will they give you mukti? No. Tejati ante kalavaram. At the time of death, when you're giving up the body, whom you should remember? You should remember Krishna. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya. Now, whatever you remember, you will achieve. That's the biggest learning. Because many people say, oh, antakale chamam eva. Why should I do everything now? I will do it at the last moment. But it's like saying, what is death? It's the most fearful moment in life. Whenever we face any danger, let's say I'm about to fall. At that moment, what do? I remember, oh mom, oh ma, oh I, help me. It comes unconsciously. Why? Because you know that your mother is the person whom you remember the most, and she can come and save you. That's the essence of Krishna consciousness. That is what he's saying. Sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever you remember throughout your life, you will come, you will get that. You remember a mother when you're at the time of danger because you're confident that she will come and save you. Similarly, if you think that I will pray to the Lord throughout my life, then you will get that consciousness at the time of death and you will come to me. That is Sada Tat Bhava Bhavita. Constantly remembering Krishna in your mind throughout your life will help you attain him at the time of death. That is a destination after death. You decide. You want a material body or you want a spiritual body. You want spiritual body, then remember the Lord always. You want a material body, then you're free to do what you want. Tasmat sarvesha kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mai arpita mano buddhir mam evaishyasi asamshayaha. Look at the confidence in which Krishna talks. He is very clear. He says, if you do this, you should have no doubts. What will happen if this is not done? He says, do it, it will happen. Simple as that. Thinking of Krishna always. So now the question is, how to remember? Everyone, you know what you remember, you will achieve. If I remember you at the time of death, you will come to me. But how to remember? So now Krishna is making this more simple. He says, therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. What's this? Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. What is the translation? He is giving us the ultimate teaching for all mankind and Arjuna in this shloka. He says, if you remember whatever you remember, you achieve. If you remember me at the time of death, you will come to me. Now he's saying how to remember. He says, Tasmat is therefore. Conclusion. Sarveshu kaleshu. You should always. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Now, Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. You are on the battlefield. And you are asking me, how do I remember? Because Arjuna is also facing death. So Arjuna, Krishna is saying, when you fight, think of me and fight. The next arrow that you're going to shoot, it will become Krishna Arpanamastu and shoot. As simple as that. Whatever duty you do, you must remember me first and then do it. Mai Arpita Mano Buddhir. Now you may be thinking, how do I remember you? He says, remember me with your mind and intelligence. In fact, there is a very famous saying from Vinoda Bhave. He says, how do I remember Krishna when I have no work? He says, I hold him with both the hands. Now, how do I remember Krishna when I have work? He says, I hold him with one hand and I work with another hand. This is the essence of Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu. Now, how do we understand the important essence of this? You take a glass of fresh milk. We all know it's healthy, but if you add sugar, it becomes delicious. So duty is like a glass of milk because it is giving our living. And in that, if you remember Krishna, it becomes milk with sugar, or you can add honey. Choice is yours. So Arjuna may be thinking in his mind that, oh, I will quit fighting, I'll go to the forest and I will remember Krishna. Krishna says, no, that is shirking your duty. You must do your swadharma, you're a kshatriya, you must fight, but you must fight by remembering me. And he says, not in the last, I think he had told us in which 3.30, he had said, Tani sarvani karmani sannyasathyatma chetasa nirasir nirmama bhutva yudhiyasva vigatajvara. You have to fight and you should not have any expectations. Give all your results to me. Now he says, not only give your results to me, do your duty while always thinking of me. So now he is trying to take Arjuna one step forward. Practice meditation on Krishna constantly, upasana. Every living moment, every time we do something, we want to do something, say, Krishna, I'm doing this to you. And the biggest or the greatest example of people who remember Krishna always are gopis. For them, everything starts and ends with Krishna. That's Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Ma Manusmara Yudhyacha. And we should remember him through our mind and intelligence. He continues, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. We can understand the word Abhyasa, practice. Chetasana Anyagamina. Paramam Purusham Divyam. Yati Partha Anuchintayan. Yata Partha Anuchintayan. Attaining Krishna by remembering him. What is the translation? He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. So he's giving Arjuna one more assurance. He's saying that if you remember me, you will be able to achieve. How will you remember me? Abhyasa. So we should, now what is abhyasa? Sadhana. What is sadhana? What we are doing today? What did Krishna say in the last chapter? He says gnana. How do you get gnana? Yata gnashasi tat shunu, by hearing. So what are we all doing? I am talking, you are hearing. So this is abhyasa yoga yuktena. You are abhyasa. Now abhyasa can be, you can do bhakti yoga, you can do ashtanga yoga, you can do gnana yoga, you can do whatever yoga. But what is yoga? You are connecting yourself with the Lord. How do you do yoga? Chetasa naanyagamita. Don't allow your mind to deviate. Na anyagamina. Do not, mind is chanchala. Practice single-minded attention. When we are listening to Gita for 1 hour, we only listen to Gita. If you are able to do it, what happens? Paramam Purusham Divyam. I will be yours. You can come to me. Yati Partha Anuchintayan. What is Chintayan? Chintayan is steady contemplation. Chintayan is contemplation. Anuchintayan is steady contemplation. So it says, if you do this, you will come back to me. Now, Prabhupada used to give a very famous example to highlight what is abhyasa. Most of us have studied in our science chapter, the caterpillar always thinks of becoming a butterfly. And at the end, it achieves its goal of becoming a butterfly, and in the same lifetime. So if a non-human entity can achieve the form that it wants through abhyasa, through patience, Prabhupada says, why can't you achieve Krishna? All of us can achieve Krishna. And he says, I don't want you to, Prabhupada used to say, you can't do Ashtanga Yoga, you can't do Hatha Yoga, you can't do Satchakra Yoga, that we will study in the following verses. He says, just chant, be with the association of devotees, listen to Gita, read Gita, you will achieve Krishna. Paramam Purusham Divyam. That is the solution that Prabhupada gave us. So if I have to summarize these verses, when to prepare? Now. There is never tomorrow. What is the syllabus? Krishna. It's not complex. You don't have physics, chemistry, biology, botany, maths. No, there's only one topic, Krishna. How to prepare? Choice is yours. Now you can read scriptures, you can be with devotees, you can do kirtan, you can chant, you can serve. Choice is yours. When? 24 hours. Tasmat sarvesha kaleshu. What is the result? You will achieve Krishna, Paramam Purusham Divyam. That's the essence of these 3 verses that we study. Now we come to the last part of our chapter today, and that is how do we remember Krishna by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. These 4 verses talks about that. Now, what is yoga connection with the Lord? We have already studied in 6th chapter Dhyana Yoga, and that helps you to connect with the Lord. Now, in this, bhakti is the common factor. Yoga is varying. In 6th chapter, it was Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Now, in this chapter, in the next 3-4 verses, Krishna will describe Satchakra Yoga to us. Satchakra Yoga, if Ashtanga Yoga was difficult as per Arjuna, and if you see, Satchakra is going to be no easier than that. That is why this is called Yoga Mishra Bhakti. What is the verse? Very fundamentally beautiful verse. If anyone thinks or anyone wants, like Arjuna is asking, how do I remember you? Krishna is giving this verse. He says, Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyamsham Anusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varanam Tamasa Parastat. What a phenomenal verse. He is giving us 9 ways of remembering Krishna, not one. Choice is yours. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person, that is Krishna, as the one who knows everything. First lesson. As he who is the oldest. Second way of remembering Krishna, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, Aditya Varanam, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Now, if you want to meditate on the Lord, he is giving us nice poetic description of how to remember Krishna. Choice is yours. You pick up one of them, you have succeeded. Kavim. Kavim is omniscient. He is knower of everything, past, present, future. He transcends space. What is the closest example to Kavim? Sun. Sun illuminates all the objects in this world. He has no distinction between I like this, I don't like this. There is no darkness when Krishna is there. When Krishna is there, there is no darkness when sun is there. That's how I remember. Puranam. He's the ancient, most ancient. He's not the, when I say oldest, it's not, don't take it that he is one of the person who is 100 years old. No. He never ages because he's beyond space, he's beyond time. But he is the man who has created this universe. So he is, you remember him as Puranam, the ancient man. Anushashitaram. Anushashana means controller. Anushashitaram is, he is omnipotent, he is controller of the whole world, and he is Sarva Shakti. He is the cause of everything. Now, this is very interesting. Generally, we have just heard about the description of Virat Purusha. He said he's huge. Now he's giving you another dimension of Krishna. He says, I am Anor Aniyamsham. What is Anor Aniyamsham? I am smaller than the smallest. He is so small that he can enter an atom. He is present, he enters the heart of living entity. Then you can imagine what is the size of Atma, what is the size of Paramatma. That is also described, that is also defined. It is nothing is left to imagination in scriptures. It is described and defined that Atma is 1/10,000th the tip of the hair. There is no microscope, telescope ever invented which will be able to see the Lord. That is Anor Aniyamsham. Now, can you understand this with a practical real life example? You take cloth. Now, cloth is at the gross level. Where does the cloth come from? It comes from thread. Now, thread is more subtler than the cloth. Where does the thread come from? It comes from cotton. Cotton is so soft. That is how Krishna is. Anor Aniyamsham. The essence of understanding this is that the more a thing is subtle, the more is its pervasiveness. Water is subtler than ice. Steam is subtler than water. Anor Aniyamsham. That's why Krishna can enter any body, any living entity in this world, and nobody, and he is there, we are all alive. He goes out, we are no more. Anusmaredya, remember me in this form. He is Achintya Rupam. No, first is Sarvasya Dhataram. What is Dhata? Is maintainer. He's saying, I am Sarvasya Dhataram. I look after everyone. Then he says, Achintya Rupam. This is for people who keep on arguing that Krishna is formless. He is impersonal. He says, no, I am Achintya. I am beyond this material world. You cannot understand me through your material logic, rational, philosophical speculation. I am inconceivable. Rupam. Rupam is very easy to understand. It's not a very difficult word. Rupam means form. He says, I am inconceivable, but I have a form which you can remember me. Aditya Varanam. I am as luminous as the sun. Tamasa Parstat. I am beyond material ignorance, material existence. It's like, the famous Upanishad verse, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. From darkness come to light. That is Krishna. Where Krishna is there, there is no ignorance, there is no darkness. So if I have to summarize 9 ways of remembering him: Kavim, omniscient; Puranam, oldest; Anushashitaram, controller; Anor Aniyamsham, smallest; Sarvasya Dhataram, he's the maintainer; Achintya, inconceivable; Rupam, I have a beautiful form. You decide which form you want to remember me. Aditya Varanam, I am as radiant, effulgent as the sun. Tamasa Parstat, I am transcendental, I am beyond ignorance. Next verse. Prayana Kale Manasa Chalena Bhaktya Yukto Yoga Balena Chaiva Bhruvor Madhye Pranam Pranam Aveshya Samyak Satam Param Purusham Upaiti Divyam. What is the one-line summary? He is now describing Satchakra Yoga. After listening to this verse, you will say Bhakti is far easier than any of these yogas. One who at the time of death, Prayana Kale, fixes his life air between the eyebrows, Bhruvor Madhye, and by the strength of yoga, Yukto Yoga Balena, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion. Bhaktya Yukto. will certainly attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Bhakti. Bhakti is the common factor. Yoga, meditation is the mix. That's why it's called Yoga Mishra Bhakti. And what is the new yoga we are going to learn? It is Satchakra Yoga. Prayana Kale. Very easy to understand. In the earlier verse 8.5 says Anta Kale. Now he's saying Prayana Kale. At the time of death. Manasa Achalena. Manasa is mind. Achala is the one who keeps his mind fixed. So if you are able to keep your mind fixed, in fact, Arjuna has defined mind in various terms in 6.33. He says, Chanchalatvat Sthitim Stiram. He says, Chanchalam Hi Mana Krishna. So Krishna is saying, I understand what you're saying. Mind is, it keeps jumping from one thing to the other. Very difficult to control. But you can do that by Bhakti and Bhakti. So with Bhakti, you can steady your mind. Yoga Balena Chaiva. You engage yourself in remembering me with devotion, systematic and determined practice. That is important. Bhaktya Yukta Yoga Balena. Then your mind will become firm. You will be free. Why is the mind always deviant? It is achala. It is not achala. It is chanchala, because it is attracted by kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsarya. So if you're able to overcome all these things, make your mind steady, then it will become peaceful. Now, how can you remember me? He gives us two parts. One is Satchakra Yoga, which is now Bhruvor Madhye Pranam Aveshya Samyak. And second is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga we'll study in 14th and 15th verses. Now we'll study Satchakra Yoga. Bhruvor Madhye Pranam Aveshya Samyak. Just imagine, fixes his life air between the eyebrows. That is, there is a life air in our body. You have to pull that up from the bottom to the point between your eyebrows. Then you get Krishna. That is Satchakra Yoga. Satam Param Purusham Upaiti Divyam. Such a person will attain me. Now, since we are in the topic of Satchakra Yoga, I will quickly describe to you what is the Satchakra Yoga. So this is the diagram which gives you the presence of 6 chakras in our body. So there are 6 chakras, and we have the prana. The prana can be located in any of these chakras. So if you are a Satchakra yogi, and if you realize that my prana, which is the life-giving consciousness, part of the Atma, if it is at Mooladharam chakra, you have to push it to Agya chakra. Just imagine, first of all, we don't know that we have prana, which is where is it located. First, you have to do yoga to understand that. And you have to pull that chakra, the prana, into this chakra. That is Satchakra Yoga. Just imagine, Ashtanga Yoga was difficult, and you think we will be able to do this. And this prana has, there are 5 types of prana. It's not just one prana. You have prana, apana, samna, samana, udhana. So if you are able to do this, and if you pull this to this point between the eyebrows, then you will attain me. So I'm sure all of us, after hearing this, after listening to this, can say that, oh, this is not my cup of tea. Because it's not easy. You need to practice your entire life to be able to pull your prana up from Mooladhara chakra to Agya chakra. Let's look at the next verse. Yat aksharam veda vido vadanti vishanti yat yatayo vitaraga yad icchantu brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshase. Now Krishna describes what are the requirements of Satchakra Yoga. First is, you know what is Satchakra Yoga. Now, if you want to pull your prana from Mooladhara to Agya, what you should do? Persons who are learned in the Vedas, so first is you must have knowledge of Vedas, who utter Omkara and who are great sages in renounced order, enter into the Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. So what are the requirements? He says, Yad Aksharam, chant Omkara. Uttering Om is remembering Brahman. For us, Srila Prabhupada has made it more simpler. He says, Brahman is difficult to understand, but Krishna is available to us if you chant Hare Krishna. Veda Vida, you must have knowledge of Vedas. Upanishads, Shastras. So what Prabhupada says, if you want to make life simpler in this Kali Yuga, where all of us have no time, less less ability to understand. He says you read Gita, Bhagavatam, you will understand the essence of all the Vedas. Vitaraga, no attachments. You should be completely renounced, detached. That's another important requirement for achieving or being a Satchakra Yogi. Brahmacharyam charanti. You must practice celibacy. And it's not Brahmacharya means only celibacy. It involves an entire science. It's like you live with a guru in an ashram, you do follow whatever guru says, serve the guru, live according to his teachings. Only then you can achieve Brahman. Vishanti, such a person gets the destination of Yatayo, great sages, Yad Icchanto, those that you desire, you will get that. So if you do all these things, what's your result? Tatte padam sangrahena pravakshase. You will be liberated. You will come into impersonal Brahman. That is Sayujya Mukti. You will merge into the effulgence of the Lord. Sangrahena pravakshase. He says, I will explain more in brief in the following verses. So if I were to summarize, what is the requirements of Satchakra Yoga? First is, you must stand home. You must read thoroughly all the Vedas, be knowledgeable. Then you have no attachments. Brahmacharyam, you have to practice celibacy, and then you should serve a spiritual master and follow his advice. These are the basic requirements by which you can start practicing Satchakra Yoga. Then comes the sadhana of actually how to move the prana from one chakra to another chakra. Next. Sarvadvarani samyamya manohrudi nirudyacha urdhani adhyatmana pranam astito yoga dharanam. What is this? Now he's giving you the process. So we have understood what are the requirements. Now we know the process. What is the description? The yogic situation is that of detachment. I'm sure we understand this. From all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga. So this is Dhyana Yogi's prescription. We had studied Ashtanga Yoga. Now Satchakra Yoga also has a couple of steps which are similar to Ashtanga Yoga. So this stage, Prabhupada defines is Pratyahara stage. What is requirement? What is the process? He says Sarvadvarani Samyamya. What is Dwara? Dwara is a gate. What is Dwarani? Sense gates. So if you are able to close the doors for all sense objects, or you withdraw your senses from sense objects, then you are able to control your senses. It's like, how do we understand this? You have a gulab jamun or you have a rasgulla. Now, are you chasing the rasgulla or rasgulla is chasing you? That is yoga. If you are into material enjoyment, you will chase the rasgulla. You say, I want one, I want two, I want three, because you're never satisfied. But if you're a Satchakra yogi, you will say, I am renounced. Whether it is rasgulla or gulab jamun, I am not tempted. That is what we should practice. Sarvadvarani samyamya, control. The taste and pleasure of eating a rasgulla is known. But if you're a Satchakra yogi, you have to control your 5 senses. Gnanendriyas. They are eyes, nose, ears, tongue, skin. If you are able to do that, that's the first step. Sense gratification does not allow you to focus. If you want to practice any yoga, including Satchakra yoga, you must do the first step, that is Pratyahara. Second, he says Manohrudi Nrityacha. This is Dharana yoga. In the Ashtanga yoga, if you were to compare, this is equal to Dharana yoga. Manohrudi Nrityacha. What is Krishna saying? I know mind is agitating. Even without external disturbances, it is disturbed because of emotions, feelings. So he says, fix your emotions into your heart. You want to love and you are being deceived by external relationships, love me. Fix your emotion of love within your heart. I am present within you as Paramatma. Nirudyacha, confine your emotions present in the mind, in your heart. Reduce the number of thoughts. The more thoughts, the more the agitation. The lesser the thoughts, there is stability, peace, samadhi. That is meditation. So if you're able to do that, you are at the stage of dharana. Third step, Murdhani Adhyatmana Pranam. Now this is the most difficult part. Murdhani means in the head. So if you are able to fix your prana at this point, then and you continue Astita Yoga Dharanam in this state, then you will achieve me. Astita Yoga Dharanam. You should be situated in this form, in this mode to achieve me. Just imagine, I can do sense control to some extent. I can control my emotions by looking inwards. But how do I do this? This is the hard part of Satchakra Yoga. There is no shortcut. I have understood the process. I know the requirements, but then I have to go through this hard work of pulling my prana from this point to this point. Not an easy job. 13th verse. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran yaprayati tejandeham sayati paramam gatim. What is the translation? What's the destination? We know the process, we know the requirements. Now it says, what is destination? Sayati paramam gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Sayati paramam gatim. So now you have to chant Om. This is the transcendental vibration of remembering Brahman. You chant the name of Om, then you are in a position to come towards me. Vyaharan means vibrating. So when you chant Om, that is the vibration. Bhakti is you Mam Anusmaran. So this is fixing your mind on Bhagavan. Mam Anusmaran is again saying, fix your mind on me. Even in 8.5, he had said, Antakale cha mameva. So now he is again saying, Vyaharan mam anusmaran. You have to fix your mind on me. Yaprayati tejandeham. If you depart from your body in this way, sayati paramam gatim. You will attain me. So the yogis are able to continue in this process of yoga, astito yoga dharanam, by keeping the prana at the Agya Chakra, then they are able to achieve paramam gatim. But for us, Krishna will tell us in the coming verses, please follow Bhakti Yoga. None of this is possible for a normal person. With this, we have come to the end of this session. We will quickly summarize. We started with Arjuna's questions, doubts of Arjuna. He had 8 questions and Krishna answered them in the verse 3 and 4. The second lesson is, how do we remember Krishna at death? This 5 to 8, he gives the answer to that. You can remembering by constant practice. Tasmat sarvesha kaleshu. You should remember me all the time. Then he told us about the law of last thought. Then he says, practice, sadhana. There is no shortcut. Keep your mind, intelligence fixed on me. How do I attain Supreme Krishna? He says, we have studied only remembrance by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. You have Bhakti, you have meditation, but you have to practice it with Satchakra Yoga, then you can attain me. Now, the balance we will continue in the next class. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you, Shyam Sundarji. Thank you very much for a enlightening session. I can't say how much I'm sorry. Are you on mute, sir?
No, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. I'm indeed blessed to be able to that I remembered and I was able to attend your session.
Thank you so much. You could make time, and I know you're a very busy parent.
No. It's
with
not
a child
about that.
waiting for his admission into
I'm
engineering.
more a busy daughter. No, I'm more a busy daughter than a parent now.
Okay. So you have double role. Not only a parent, also a beautiful daughter. Thank you very much. May Krishna bless you.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you, Alok. Any questions you have?
No, boss. Great session today.
Okay. Now I have my uncle, Hare Krishna uncle. I also have a very senior devotee with us. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Shyam Chandra Das.
Hare Krishna, Sham. I came late because there was a phone call.
No problem at all. I'm so happy.
And some of the, shlokas, nice revised. We've gone through it twice, Yeah, I remembered this Adibhutam the last time we left that, isn't it? Adibhutam, yeah.
Yes.
This one is very famous.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Nice class.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam to you.
Dandavat pranam to you. Wonderful class. Very good, lessons you have summarized in the end also. I think I really enjoyed. I joined a little late, but then I think I could get the essence of what you have spoken today. I think I joined when you were speaking from verse number 5 or 6 onwards. That is how Krishna is asking Arjuna to remember him at the time of Antakala,
Right.
So it was very nice. Good analogies also. I liked it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You are saying your presence itself is a blessing to us. Blessing to me.
I'm really privileged to be part of your, this class. And unfortunately, I had forgotten earlier. Then suddenly I remembered, oh, today is Sunday. I must join your class. So maybe next time onwards, if I get a small reminder, maybe a day earlier, it'll help me, Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhuji. Certainly, I will do that. I will send you on Sunday morning itself as a reminder.
Yeah, that will be nice. That will be nice.
I will do that. Anyone who wants this, please tell me. I will do it. Of course, Prabhuji, I don't want to ask you if you have any questions because you are walking, talking Gita.
No. I think it was very clear with good analogies and all. I think, let me digest your session. And if there's anything, I'll call you to ask also.
Thank you, Prabhuji. In fact, you are a teacher even when you talk because your modesty and humility is also a beacon of learning for us.
No, Prabhu. No, not at all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Uncle, you have any doubt? Rekha, you have any doubt? Ramesha?
No. This word, Kalayavara, a couple of times. We don't normally use this. And if I remember in Tamil, I used to, first time I used Kalayavaram, he frightened me. I was in OT.
Okay.
But beautifully in this, for a long time, not read. And of course, recently, somewhere else it comes, I think. Not only in this chapter, I think there's one more chapter it comes. And and this, this, I was told, Mankutimana Kagga, when Guraj Karchigi was interpreting, I remember he said, for the beautiful example he gave for the, I think, verse 5, I think, isn't it? Antakale, yeah.
Okay.
Antakale Chamame, he was giving an example of Ajamila and all that.
Okay. Ajamila is a very... Yes.
That's one often quoted with this shloka.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, nice revision. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle. Thank you. And just to introduce you all, Shyam Chandra Das is a very senior devotee. He has 2 sons, and both his sons are spiritual gurus. They are superstars in their own domain. If you say their names, they have lakhs of followers. So they are proud parents, and they themselves are so devoted to Krishna.
All right. Okay. Yes, you are blessed by his presence.
Yes. Nandita, you have any question? Ramesha, Rekha. If there are no questions, then we will call an end to this Gita Wisdom class. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.